boardwalk and the ocean itself, the city just, to me, after being away, looks better to me than it did back in 2004. And if you look at the product that we have in terms of hotels, I'm really starting to ask the question, are we really charging enough? The strategy that I'm talking about, and we've been talking a lot about it here, really has to do with rate strategy in terms of how we're marketing and how far out we're applying rates. And that has to do with, if you're putting a rate out there 4 or 5 months from now, and that rate's too low, what is that doing to your group business? And is it placing an artificial ceiling on what we could be charging in terms of our group rates? And I'm sure our non-gaming hotel properties here probably ask that question every day as to why we're doing that. So this next screen is something that I did in relationship to looking at the rate strategies here in the city, and it goes along with that question, are we charging enough? So I just picked a date. I just picked a Wednesday in January. I know it's a tough time around here. Traditionally, we've always talked about the fact that, geez, it's how we fill our rooms. Immediate thing we do is we drop the rates. I'd say 10 years ago, it was okay. We build up the casino, we had enough casino business to really drive the profits through the winter. But maybe that isn't true anymore. Maybe we have to start thinking a little differently. Maybe we need to start thinking a little bit more like hotel properties. Most hotel businesses manage both rate and occupancy. Casino companies typically manage occupancy and then build a hotel and you'll be okay. I'm not so sure that's true anymore. And again, it's just a question. So on this first bullet I had here, I just took a look and I said 8 of the 12 casino hotel properties have published rates for that particular date. 4 didn't publish rates yet. The rates are already established at 49 to 69. So that means if Bill Jackson's out trying to sell to a small group, well, he's got a ceiling on his rates in terms of how much he can charge. And I tried to find, I was thinking I didn't want to use New York City because it's New York City. But I tried to find something similar. And you could argue with me in terms of, and I used the Inner Harbor in Baltimore for a reason. There's a waterfront there. In the winter, I'd argue that there is not as much to do there as here. I think there's a lot more to do here. It's a much more fun place to come. Yet when I looked there, 30 out of the 72 hotels published rates. And the average of those rates was $183. Now I'm not saying that we can immediately jump to $183, but it begs the question, should we be at $49 to $69 right out of the gate? Most of the rooms that we sell on the transient side, most of them get sold 2 to 3 weeks out anyway. So it begs the question, why are we out there with that low of a rate this soon? So again, they're just questions. I'm not saying I have the answers, but it's questions that we have to ask all of ourselves. Here at resorts, there's a big opportunity. The team here, you have to remember what Dennis Commissioner took over. They certainly had a big task on their hands. A lot of the business has been decimated. They're really starting over. The group sales team is really starting from scratch. And they've done a really good job. Growing up here and had some nice growth this year. So you can see from the numbers that they've had a nice growth of ADR from 69 to 74, and cash room revenue is up here this year. But Mark and I see a big upside here. We think that we can do much better. If we were able, the AC casino property average, the $99 ADR, 98, I'm sorry, and a 82% occupancy. If resorts could hit that same average, we pick up another $7.5 million. So there's a lot of room for us to grow here. So we just see a tremendous upside, particularly with the product that we have coming up there. This next slide is really just a slide that illustrates promotional allowances and expenses as a percentage of gross gaming revenue. Profits here peaked in 2005 and 6. after I left. I'm sure I don't take that personally, but it peaked after 5 and 6. It was around 30 to 32%. The growth in that percentage probably was us fighting amongst ourselves here. But you can see where it's gone. It's gone all the way up to 41% in the last 12 months. So I think I asked myself, geez, how much is enough? How far does this have to go? Is it really driving the right volumes? I mean, certainly this property, last year certainly was above this percent. It was above average. And the team here has done an awful lot of work to bring that down. And again, there's been profit improvement because of it. But we have to decide what we're going to be as an industry. I mean, the reality is convenience on the gaming side is going to win. And we have to find other ways to bring new business into the city. And we need to find ways to bring new cash customers here to resorts. And that's how we're going to grow local gaming revenues that way. We'll create new customers that way. But if we're all fighting over the same customers, we're just feeding on ourselves. And it's not really going to get us anywhere. Over 40%, I'd argue, is going to make it very difficult for us on the profit side. This next slide, there are two areas in the promotional allowances and the promotional expenses. There are two areas that I see that are now 20%. One of the counter arguments would be, well, geez, that's what they do in Pennsylvania. My argument to that would be, in Pennsylvania casinos, with the exception of Sands Bethlehem, none of them have hotels. They really don't have much more to compete with other than that. We have so much more to compete with. We have rooms, we have a lot of restaurants, we have retail. I question whether we really need to be at that 20% level here as an industry. So again, it's a question. It's a question that I'm asking myself, is it enough? And how much is enough? Beyond Pennsylvania, the New York casinos, I think, are hovering around 10 or less, 10% or less. And I know the Connecticut casinos the two Connecticut casinos have traditionally been around 10 or less. So I know it can be done with less. Now, the two New York casinos certainly have a huge population convenient to them that they're living off of. They haven't had to do it. I mean, certainly with the addition of actors, forcing that percentage up there. But I don't see them going towards 20%. So the question I ask is how much is enough? And we'll be asking ourselves that question here every day. So in closing, Atlantic City will continue to benefit from about $3 billion in gaming revenue. Where that number falls out, I don't know. Everybody asks me, where do you think the market's going to end up when all is said and done? I don't know where it's going to end up, but it's going to be in the $3 billion. It's still going to be extremely important to us here. It's still going to be the primary driver of profits. But the successful properties are going to learn how to make profit beyond the casino floor. We have to figure out a way to do that if we're going to be successful. And other businesses do it. Non-gaming hotels do it all the time. Trying to do it as well. And the opportunities here, again, we get the greatest natural resources we possibly have in this integration. We have a great beach here, boardwalk. We have tons of shopping. We should be taking advantage of that. And again, I just think we have so much more to offer here compared to a lot of the other markets. And the synergy of the combination of everything that's here is so much greater. Finally, we just need to compete with product and service. We need to get away from competing with price. It's not going to get us anywhere. It's not going to get profits in the town. I think if we're not focused on that, I think we could elevate it. It's easy for me to stand up here and say that. Now I have to do it. I'll be working with the team to do that, and we will.